right.
How about, okay, let's just start again. I'm Steve Vessel.
I'm Deathmetal Dave.
I'm Ace.
And this evening we have our special guest all the way from New Zealand we keep dropping the ball on this one, Jason Lei Howden.
Hey.
Hey. I'm done acting. Well, we really wanted to have you on the show tonight. We want to talk about like some of your early career, especially, this is a horror movie podcast, but especially Deathgasm and anything you have going on now. Like I know you have Monstrous of Metal, something called Borderlands, Firecracker, and maybe even Deathgasm Part 2, but we'll get into that in a little bit. So let's talk about, how did you first get into what you're doing now? Like from high school, you're from Greymouth, New Zealand?
Yeah, so like basically I was a metalhead who got kicked out of school and had to go back to live with my dad and my stepmom. And then I met this other metalhead who was like he was like taller than me. He was like a violent psychopath who like slept with all the girls. He was basically Zach. I was Brody and he was Zach.
This is fucking great.
Everything that happened in the movie is true apart from the demons. And
somebody really got stabbed in school then, right?
That happened, man. The dude that did that is actually like in a vocalist in this band. Like he moved to Germany. He's actually killing it now. He was crazy. I can't say his name, but he was like a psychopath in school. Like,
holy shit.
A kid broke his King Diamond tape and he got like a compass, little spike, and started stabbing him like when we were like 13.
Hey, that dude deserved it.
Yeah. This guy was crazy. And he ended up working in a music shop and like got me into heaps of metal. And then he moved overseas and now he's like lead singer for this big power metal band. He's like dating hot chicks and yeah.
That's awesome.
That's fucking crazy. Don't mess with that guy's Abigail album. How did you get hooked up with Weta?
Well, you know, they were in town. Like when I moved to Wellington, it was like 2002 and it was peak Lord of the Rings. So the hype was just, when I moved here, everyone I knew had been working as like extras or elves or like working in special effects. So I was like, I'm going to, we actually moved up here with our band. So we're like, oh, we're going to be big. And then we're like, oh no, shit. We weren't big. We played a few gigs.
That's the reality of being in a band.
Yeah. Reality sunk in. So I wanted to work in films. I'd already been, my first job out of high school was like a TV editor and cameraman and basically everything. So I was like filming Speedway and basketball and like, so that was, I worked there, like it was my first job out of high school. So like I had the background. I basically told my girlfriend I was going to work in film, and without really thinking about it, she's like, oh, that's really cool. And then I sort of like committed to it. I didn't really have any dreams. I didn't really think I'd be alive right now, honestly. It's one of those things where, but I guess the lifestyle that we used to live, I don't know, in the 90s, there was just this thing where we were just, there wasn't the expectation of, I better start like, buckling down and saving for retirement. It was just, we were wild. So it was like, then you get to like in your 20s, like, oh shit, I better start doing something because I'm getting pretty old. But I went to film school and like the mid 2000s, and I was terrible at like real school, but for some reason I was just so interested in film school. I think I love film so much. I just tried really hard, and at the end of the year, only 2 people got picked to direct like a 16mm feature, short film, and I was one of the 2. And the script was terrible. It was a terrible ghost film set in like a Pacific island where there's a war. Kind of a cool concept, but it was a terrible script, and all the actors hated the script. And this one actress, like, she'd been on like a margarine commercial, so she thought she was the shit. And she just like, came in every day and just like bitched and moaned, and she turned all the actors against me. She was just constantly saying, "Oh, the script sucks. What is the director doing?" Oh. And like, I'd cue gunshots and go bang, and she'd like, "That's not loud. How am I meant to be cued by that?" And she'd like, I don't know, she turned everyone against me, and it was like a lesson as a director that if you've got to like, part of your job is like wrangling that crew, like keeping everyone sort of like on side, and you are the boss, you're the captain, and like on a boat, like if the captain's weak, there's a mutiny. That's what happens on a film set, and I was definitely weak in that situation. But I didn't write the script, I wasn't allowed to change it. And And it was a student film. I mean, you know, shit. Like
She was taking it way too serious.
Yeah.
She was taking it way too serious.
Like, this would never happen on I Can't Believe It's Not Butter.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, like, it was cool because we got to cut with a Steenbeck, like an old editing suite. You know, we actually like cut the film and sellotape it together. We were like the last class to do that. So which gave me appreciation for editing. And you know, you make a mistake, you've got to like try and find the clipping and tape it back. And
yeah, you see those old videos of George Romero and like just piles of film.
Yeah.
And he's just clipping and painting. And it's like, holy shit.
I think like it's part of the reason why the films sort of like cut the way they were back then, but also like the pacing's so different. And I sort of like the pacing of older films, how it's you know, they really take time to introduce characters and, you know, make them really, you know, you watch the Goonies and the intro just goes on forever, but you know, you're getting introduced to all these characters and you love them, like, man, these guys are awesome. And then I feel like in modern films, it's like there's this thing like, oh, hurry up, get to it, and they don't spend enough time with character development. But that's just my opinion.
No, it's true.
You're true. That's why 9 times out of 10 you watch a horror film, it's like, I don't give a shit that person died.
Yeah, and you've got to give a shit. Like otherwise, it's just fodder. You know, it's just and I like films where it's just fodder. You know, the Friday the 13th films, but arguably, even those films, you go back and you know, there's still like more character development in some of them.
Some of them, yeah. I mean, we all like trash, and we also like Amadeus. Yeah. Like I can like fucking Blood Feast,
yeah,
and then go and see fucking Dances with Wolves or some shit. Like I can appreciate both worlds.
Yeah, totally. I mean, and yeah, I mean it's but yeah. So after film school, I like it was when like HD was just like digital cameras were just good enough to use. Like they were just, you know, that period where everyone sort of had like the mini DV cameras, and then it jumped up, and then suddenly I think it was Danny Boyle did 28 Days Later.
Yeah, that changed a lot of things, man.
And that was digital, but it like, and you could tell it was digital in the cinema, but it looks like there's something about it that just looked really cool. Like, and then like, so that changed that movie. I think everyone was like, I think there were heaps of rich kids in my film school class. Everyone bought one of those Canon cameras, the XL1s or whatever, like those ones that he shot that film on. Like everyone bought one. And but yeah, I was super jealous for a while, but you know, I mean, it's they get outdated so fast.
Oh my god.
But yeah, so he shot like a short film with like an HD camera, and then I didn't know how to do visual effects, and I shot it all on a green screen, and I was like, oh holy shit, it's just people walking on a green screen. I've got to like pay someone to do the visual effects. I should have just released it like that. But yeah, then I sort of taught myself VFX, and then managed to get a job at Weta working on a kids show, which was like great. It was like these like CG aliens go to the zoo, and there were heaps of monkeys and chimps running around. So part of my job was to paint out the chimpanzee cock and balls, because you don't want like a
oh shit, you put that on your resume.
You don't want some little kid like getting scared by like a monkey's cock and balls. That's going to be traumatizing apparently.
Oh my fucking god. Jesus Christ. So, I mean, when everyone has this imaginary bullshit whenever they talk about, like, you know, you work for a company. It's like, oh, you work for ILM. You see George Lucas all the time. It's like, no. Yeah. You're like, oh, you work for Weta. You must see fucking Peter Jackson all the time. It's like, yeah, me and all the other thousands of motherfuckers that work here.
Once, okay.
Oh my god.
No, this is bad. I did used to see him like, especially during The Hobbit, because I almost shut the door on Ian McKellen's face as well. Like I didn't see him behind me, and it was like he's really the door came towards him. I'm like, oh shit. But yeah, so like during The Hobbit, like everyone was like really stressed out, working really hard, long hours. And so I went into the toilets, right, at work, and they didn't have a urinal, there was just like the stalls. And I went into one of the stalls, and there was just like piss all over the floor, right? I was like, oh man, that's disgusting. Like someone pissed, you know, we're professionals. So I did my thing, and I was just heading out. And then it's that thing where you feel the door, you know, like where someone's opening the door when you're opening it. And on the other side was Peter Jackson. And then I was like, oh, holy shit, it's my fucking hero. Like, because I mean, like, you know, obviously Lord of the Rings is amazing, but I'm that, like, you know, Bad Taste, Brain Dead, Meet the Feebles, man, you know, 3 of my favorite films ever. So I'm just like freaking out, and I'm trying to like let him in the door, but also awkwardly get out the way. And he's just like, and then like as he's going into the toilet, I realize he's got bare feet. And he's about to walk into the and he thinks it's me.
I knew it. You're like, that wasn't me, man.
I wanted to say, like, oh, I didn't do the piss, but then he would, you know, like, you'd seem guiltier if you said that right.
Oh God!
You just got to leave and get out of the situation as fast as possible at this point.
I hooved it, but I mean, to be fair, like, who wears, you know, bare feet into a toilet? It's not.
That's fucking gross.
It's on you, mate.
Hobbits.
Fucking living the Hobbit life. Fuck that. Oh my gosh! So you like you dropped out of school like what 17 years old, and then here you are in your dream job. And like at least for us, so where were you? Where did you see yourself when you actually started going and like I'm going to be in film? Did you see yourself as a filmmaker or just a visual effects guy? Maybe even like getting in the blood and guts. I mean, where did you think you would be now compared to where you thought you were?
I was always obsessed with like the idea of effects. Like when I was a little kid, we just had one of those like old, you know, film cameras. And I was like always like I was like making my own vac UFO sightings by getting little models and hanging them with wire, like, you know, like a little bit of string, and trying to vac UFO sightings. And I'd use like my He-Man figurines to make little like films, like, you know, just stills though. We didn't have a camera. That's the thing. These days, every kid has got access to an amazing HD camera. It's crazy. Like, people don't remember, you know, I think when VHS cameras came in, that helped a lot, but they look like shit. And
shot on VHS.
Yeah. I've heard people just be like talk about it's like when I was a kid, just the idea of a camera being somewhere, and like when you just you'd like be in the mall and walk by a store that had a camera and you could see yourself on the TV. Like just that was such a big deal to be like, oh, I'm on that TV right there.
Yeah, and now it's just like we've got the best cameras ever right here in our hand. I mean, this porno machine makes fucking phone calls too.
Yeah.
That's another thing people don't remember, the Sears catalog.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I remember.
Job done, I'm just saying.
Hard times.
Man, 90s kids, 80s and 90s kids had it tough. Yeah, but you know, like I was always obsessed with like, you know, Godzilla movies and Ray Harryhausen, like those stop motion. But I think like there was never the idea that someone who lived in a small town in New Zealand could be anything except white trash. You know, there was no, like, I come from a mining family. Like my, you know, granddad was a coal miner. His granddad was a coal or gold miner. You know, my uncle was a coal miner. My dad was like a shooter and hunter. So there was never any expectation that I'd be anything but like working in a gas station or, but like I think that's when I saw Bad Taste. So I saw Bad Taste like it was in this this department store with the wall of TVs. And I'd go there after school and just look at video games and look at things. And it's just, I was obsessed with like just looking at the covers. And then someone put on Bad Taste at like after school time on like the wall of TVs. So it's just like, I was, 12 or 13. I was just watching like this wall of TVs, just the chainsaws and everything. And I was like, holy shit, the sheet blowing up. It was the best thing ever.
Yeah,
but I think the coolest thing was like, they had New Zealand accents. And that's when I thought like, if New Zealanders can do that, it's not just Americans that can make TV and films. New Zealanders can do it as well. So it was kind of like a cool moment.
Yeah, that's awesome because everyone always talks about Ozploitation, Oz this, Oz that, and it's not like everyone kind of forgets. No offense, but it's like if it wasn't for Peter Jackson, I don't think a lot of people would even think about New Zealand as a film, not fucking country, and that kind of sucks, man.
Yeah.
Well, if the Film Commission have their way, that no one will ever think of us as a film country.
Oh, fuck.
They fund bullshit, unfortunately. We got, a couple of, we got some money for Deathgasm, but like the Film Commission would give us notes like, we don't understand. It's like a comedy and a horror. Like, what is that? You don't know what a horror comedy is? What the fuck?
Yeah, but think about this, though. Your name is going to be synonymous with Peter Jackson when it comes to that sort of thing. because you has like in Canada, people think about Cronenberg or Bob Clark, doing Black Christmas and and Christmas Stories, things like that. So I mean, your name is up there now with Peter Jackson when it comes to like horror movies and New Zealand. That's fucking crazy. Whether you think about that or not, it's the truth.
No, I mean, I thank you, and it wasn't until I went to South by Southwest with Deathgasm that I sort of realized that was New Zealand's reputation for genre fans, because people just kept coming up to me like, I love New Zealand horror movies, that they're so like funny and like gross, and then I realized like the films that a lot of people know us for, like Black Sheep, Bad Taste, Brain Dead, What We Do in the Shadows, Housebound, they're all horror movies with like a bit of humor and also like poking fun at ourselves, like because New Zealanders know we're kind of pathetic, so we love we love like sending ourselves up.
I really liked Housebound a lot.
It was good, man.
Yeah, it was. I mean, Black Sheep, Black Sheep, you know what you're in for. Housebound, I had no idea what I was in for. I really didn't.
Yeah.
And that one really made me happy. And of course, everyone knows what we do in the shadows. But before that, I mean, it's like that's become now the norm. Now, like you have a television show, you have the movies. We're swear wolves.
Yeah,
Swear wolves. So I guess we need to dig into fucking Deathgasm, man, because we gotta fucking go this balls deep in this movie. It's amazing. It's one of our favorite films. We showed it here in Louisville, Kentucky, not too long ago, and a friend of mine, Daniel, is the one who got me in contact with you, and I really have to thank him for that.
Oh yeah, awesome. No, that's great. I hope it had a great screening.
Guys, dig in.
Well, you got this. So you won. You got this. It was funded by New Zealand through a contest, right? And you won for the director, which is amazing to me because I think in America the idea of that the U.S. would give somebody money to make a movie would be insane. It was support the arts. What does that mean?
It's such a great abuse of taxpayer money, but I love it. Because if they don't spend the money on horrible exploitation movies, they're gonna just waste it on something bullshit anyway. So they might as well waste it on me. No, I mean it's all my American friends say that because when we bitch about the New Zealand Film Commission, they're like, you guys have got a film commission. But which is good and bad, but I think in the States, obviously there's so many other ways to get stuff made, and you guys just have such a system there. You've got you guys have been doing it for over 100 years now, just and it's in place. It was one thing I learned in Germany was because filmmaking started in Germany and the States, and Germany's actually got quite a different way of making films than Americans. We do it the American way. But yeah, I mean, it's the competition was crazy. I was working at Weta at the time, and I think I was on the third Hobbit movie, and I was just like, I'm over this. I mean, not bitching about my job because I know it's a cushy job compared to some, but I was just staring at Gandalf with green screens covered with those, the little red markers, and just having to paint them out whenever they went through his hair. And I'd do that for 12 hours a day, go home, couldn't sleep for 2 hours, then do that, and keep going 6 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week, and I was just burnt out. Easy, and right. Then this competition came up, and I was like, what you had to do is just pitch a synopsis, just a one-page sheet, and so I did 3 actually. The other 2 would have been a lot easier to make, and then they chose the hardest one.
Of course.
But yeah, what I didn't know then was one of the producers was a massive metalhead, and but yeah, what happened was it sort of happened as a voting system. So the people with the most Facebook votes would go into the finals, and I was just I was just on Facebook all day, just posting the link everywhere. Just people were saying, "Stop spamming me with this." I'd say, vote for us. I was posting on the Metallica page, and all these band pages, and a lot of people were getting pissed off. But also, we got a lot of votes from it. Yeah, I mean, it was we got into the semi-final, quarterfinals, and then we had to do something else, make a poster. So I made a poster, and then we got into the semi-finals. and then we got into the finals, and we had to write a script. And I wrote it fast. Like I didn't really know where I was going to go with it. So it was one of those things where I was just like drinking and, drunk writing.
That's why it's amazing.
It went, and sometimes like there's other ways. Some people have said to me, you could have done it more like a Juno, sort of like a, sort of a hipster comedy horror, which could have been cool, like something smarter. And I'm like, the script wanted to be done on purpose. And that's what sort of like some people didn't understand is like, I didn't want to do something that was like trying to be pretentious and like overly like, clever for its own sake. I wanted to do something that was just like honest and, came from, it was almost like channeling the dumb 16-year-old metalhead me and putting that, and mixing it with Evil Dead and putting it on the screen. And like, a lot of people are like, oh, this is juvenile. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's meant to be. I'm glad you said that. It's a compliment. If I had made something that was too like, too pretentious, I would have been like, there's, I don't think it would have. I was surprised when it gone to South by Southwest. Every step of the way, I've just been shocked that how successful it's been. Like, and people are still talking about it. It's like every Halloween I get like dozens of people posting me pictures of like, they're dressing up as Brody and Medina and, fan art. There was like, there's, oh my God, there's a whole community of like people that ship like Brody and Zach. And like there's like, I'm not sure that type of manga that's like, it's like gay manga. There's a name for it, but yeah, there's like Brody and Zach like making out, and then there's like all these like fan stories of them making out, and it's hilarious. I love it. It's like, man,
yeah, I couldn't imagine if you had like if you made a pretentious heavy metal horror movie, it would be like A24 presents Deathgasm.
Yes,
like
this is how Opeth started.
Yeah,
and
I'm like, have you seen any of these movies?
But that's what I appreciate about the film, like the silly stuff, and like the Rick Astley record and the Hacks and Sword sleeve, like stuff like that was funny, or just like the nerds talking about D&D, and he's like, it's actually a die, it's not a dice.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like I've had that conversation.
Based on a real conversation, like we at high school, I was at boarding school, which was fucking horrible. But like I sort of made friends with this group of day boys meaning like boys that get to go home to their parents instead of like being like beaten while they're asleep.
Oh, they're not lifers.
And yeah, they were all like this bunch of like horror and metal guys that got me into like I sort of knew that I loved horror and metal, but like when I found that group of friends, like we would just hang out outside and just chat about like aliens or like Day of the Dead, and like a lot of them are still my best friends today. I still chat with them like weekly if not daily. They've gone on to become like but yeah, they actually gave us like a D&D room at school because we were like getting like beaten up and teased too much doing it anywhere else. And then at one point, like one of the guys got into an argument with the DM, and then like punched a hole through the wall, and then we weren't allowed to use the room again.
So for those who have not, any of our listeners or viewers don't know what Deathgasm is, can you sum it up the best that you can?
So it's basically like this this metalhead teenager Brody goes to live with his aunt and uncle who are heavily Christian in this tiny town after his mother goes to jail for like, what was it? She was like blowing a mall Santa for crack or something. That's not based on a true story, Mum. She's dead. I'm not sure why I'm talking to her. But like, and then he goes on to like form a metal band with these other metalheads. They find like this Necronomicon style like evil notation music. It's like it's in like ancient Latin, which they can read. And then they play the music, which raises all these these evil dead demons basically, and then they've got to save the world, which they doomed.
That's perfect. Yeah, it's definitely like Evil Dead, The Gate, a little bit of Trick or Treat. Like you make You made. I know you've talked about this before. You made metalheads, especially in the '80s, more realistic because we were fucking nerds. We weren't cool. We weren't out fucking like doing all the cool chicks all the time. Like that shit. Like we had friends that did that, but mostly we were trying to just fucking walk down the street and having to get our ass kicked.
It's so weird these days. You know, you see like there's like hot girls on Twitch talking about like video games and board games and shit, and you're like, where were these girls when I was a teenager? Because like, I mean, even video games were like kind of cool for little kids, but I think there was this thing where you weren't meant to play video games. You know, and I was into like, you know, Commodore Amiga and you know, disc swapping and that stuff. And like, you'd get a beat down for talking about those sort of games when you're a certain age.
Fucking nerd. Yeah, and you're a metalhead.
Yeah.
So you're a Satanist and you're a nerd. You can't win.
Yeah. I definitely wasn't getting laid in college by playing Slayer at parties.
Man.
I was just thinking, because I was listening to South of Heaven, the guy that I based Sack on, he once seduced this girl. He said, like, he gave her a note that said, you must be an angel, like, oh, what is an angel like you doing so fast south of heaven? He scored her from that, and she didn't know he was like referencing a fucking Slayer song.
That's fucking great.
That's legendary right there.
That's
Nice.
that dude, yeah. Okay, Metal Hall of Fame with that motherfucker. So how did you gather your cast, your crew? I mean, what were you looking for? Like, just talk about how the beginnings of this movie were, like, before, you know, like the hard part of actually making the movie is putting all these fuckers together.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because like Guns Akimbo was like, you know, millions, but it was so much harder. But for some reason, I think there's this thing where like you don't know how hard something is, and you're just naive or stupid, and you just go into it like, let's do it. And like if you actually thought about it, like if you were smart, you wouldn't do it. It's sort of an advantage.
That's what Bruce Campbell says.
Yeah.
Bruce Campbell says it all the time.
Yeah. You've got to have like a certain level of just dumb to be able to like work in this industry, because it's fucking crazy. Like I worked out like I would have made more money working at McDonald's for like the time I spent rather than work on Guns Akimbo, because it was just you know, you're always doing it. But anyway, yeah, so like I won the competition, and you know, met the producers. One of them was Ant Timpson, who I knew. He was like a he'd run this like movie marathon every year, and like, so you spend 24 hours watching shitty movies, and he was a bit of a legend. He almost went to jail for bringing, like, you know, that movie Baise Noir? It's like a French movie with like you know, really sickening violence in it, and the film censor was gonna like send him to jail for playing it, and he was like, I'll go to jail for this film. He's a bit of a legend down here. He also produced Turbo Kid, Housebound, Greasy Strangler. Yeah,
Turbo Kid is awesome.
Oh yeah, that movie's great.
Turbo Kid rules.
Oh man, I love those guys. They're I was like on the festival circuit with them, and like we were sort of like Gore brothers and sister. Yeah, but like I moved up to Auckland from Wellington, quit my job. I think we like yeah, it was you know, kind of crazy, and like it's not like I didn't, you know, me and my wife didn't have much money, but we're just like, we'll just do this, you know. And you know, we set up like the studio in this in West Auckland. I stayed in a haunted house as well. It was like this so like these rockabillys. I'm not sure you guys invented rockabilly. You know what rockabillies are, like those sort of like yeah, sort of Elvis-y goth.
Yeah, like psychobilly.
Yeah. Psychobillies, yeah. I think they were more like that. They had like this house that they I think that might have like been an early Airbnb sort of thing, but they were over in the States touring, so I stayed in their house. It was like this old house full of like taxidermy stuff and like, you know, a big American flag, you know. It was a cool place, but yeah, there was either ghosts or meth heads were walking around that place at night. I was not gonna find out.
Hopefully ghosts.
Why not both?
I guess I was hoping it would be a ghost, but yeah, it was crazy. But like, yeah, we like worked out there. We rented out this old warehouse because it was like $150K US, which I guess I had no idea how little money that is for a film. It's fuck all money.
It sounds good until you're like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's only when I've been sort of like making so we're sort of the early stages of making Deathgasm 2, but I'm like, let's just do it for that amount again. And people are like, no, you can't make films for that much. I'm like, but we did. And it's like no one knows how we made it. It's just this weird thing where I think everyone involved in the film pulled every remaining favor they had, like every sort of last favor they could. People were like, okay, we'll do this one favor for you, but never again. And I think it was like that was it. But like, yeah, we casting was cool. We ended up getting like 2 Power Rangers. Like,
the Power Ranger connection in Deathgasm. That's a real thing.
Yeah, Milo Cawthorn and Kim Crossman. I didn't know they were Power Rangers until like a little bit later, but I loved Power Rangers when I was a teenager, the original series but yeah, because they just like they film all the stuff with the masks and stunts in Japan, and then they're like, oh, we need some white people. We'll go to New Zealand. Not cheap. People will think they're American. They'll do American accents, will be fine, which is what everyone thinks. But yeah. So like, and they still have got like fan sites, and there's a massive fandom for that stuff still. But yeah, like Milo, when he auditioned, like he was just perfect. Like he was just like had that sort of funny, sort of nervous demeanor, that sort of awkward, which I just loved. And he was one of those actors, same as Daniel Radcliffe. Like when I cut the film, it ended up being the first take almost every time. Like he would just, the first take would be the best. And I'd get second takes for safety, but I'm just like, dude, you're just so good. And he's one of those actors who would just go extra. Like he would give you what you were asking for, and then just, he'd do something like fall over in a silly way, or just do something like crazy, or say something weird. Kim was like, I knew Kim, she was a celebrity here from like being on our only soap opera. It's like a hospital drama called Shorten Street. It's funny because when she like flew herself from the States, from LA to New Zealand to be in the film, she thought she was going to be like the cult leader woman that like gets her top off at the end.
Yeah.
And she thought she was cast for that. And so she flew over for like the role of the cult woman. And so I met up with Kim. I mean, she's just so awesome. Met up with her in this cafe, and we were just chatting about like the film and stuff. And she's like, yeah, I don't mind the nudity thing. And I'm like, I'm like, Medina doesn't have any nude scenes, and she mentioned it again. She's like, yeah, the nude scene will be sweet, and I'm like, I couldn't understand why she was talking about this nude scene. I'm like, oh, Medina doesn't have a nude scene. She's like, oh, I didn't know. I'm the lead, because she just thought she was like this, the other actress that only had a few lines. She's like, oh, that's even better.
Yeah, but that's awesome, because that shows how down she was to be in anything you were doing, and that's fucking great.
Oh, I should have just went with it. I'm like, oh yes, like writing it in.
Get a rewrite real quick. Hold on.
Just put that in the script.
But I'm not a smart man. But yeah, she was awesome. Like, she's totally not a horror kid, but she'd come into the warehouse that we were filming in, and there would just be like tables of all this gore and body parts, and people would bring their kids to like work, and they were like hitting each other with like limbs and stuff, and Kim was like, oh my god, she couldn't actually look at the body parts, but she was amazing. She was just like, all the actors were just totally professional. Like yeah, I mean, it was just just phenomenal. And my favorite another casting decision, the guy that plays Dion, like the nerdy kid, he just blew me away in the audition. I gave him the part as soon as he came in. He was just like, oh no, like he had this sort of like a little bit like a camp, played him a little bit gay. And then it's interesting, this gay critic like gave us a really bad review, because he's like, this character is so homophobic. I'm like, that's just who he is. He was playing. He's just, So I'm like, he decided to play the character that way, and I don't know. I wasn't. I thought it was amazing. It was that was one of the only reviews that I was sort of like insulted by, because the idea of like me trying to be homophobic was just so laughable. But like, yeah, it's crazy. It's just for me, it's just like, they just don't get it.
No, they don't. And speaking of reviews, I've got one that Variety wrote, and they said the script does not live up to the vivid splatter effects, which I think is bullshit, but whatever. But the film's consistent, if undiscriminating, high energy engenders it to a certain persuasive goodwill. I think that's a good review. I think that means good.
It's good. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, it's just like that whole culture is just so doomed. Like, I think film critics, it's going to be dead in a few years because, like, firstly, I never used to read film reviews. I mean, like, I would just go to films. You know, I didn't want to, like, no spoilers. You know, I would, if it was it's always been word of mouth for me. It's like, if, like, one of my friends who I trust their opinions says a film's good and I should watch it, I'll go see it. But, like, critic culture is just so fucked these days. You know, you see, yeah, I mean, like, the stuff that Amazon's doing at the moment with the Rings of Power, and it's like, yeah, I mean,
critics critics suck, man. I mean, they will try to tear you down because they can't do what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, there are people that, like, wanted to be film, you know, directors and couldn't, but at the same time, I'm not saying that, you know, there are some great film critics, and you know, film journalism, I think, and you know, is you know, there's definitely a need for that somewhere. I mean, I used to be a Fangoria kid. I love, you know, that's the only connection I had to, like, the horror world when I was, like, in New Zealand. Like, Fangoria, every time I got Fangoria, you know, I mean, you know, I think they sort of went off the rails, and then I sort of they had Horror Hound at my local dairy that I used to, or, like, it's like a newsagent or a convenience store in America, but they used to have Horror Hound. I loved Horror Hound, and then they stopped bringing it in, and I can't get it.
Oh, fuck. We'll have to send you a couple copies.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I love Horror Hound. It's it really, like, yeah, for some reason they just sort of nailed the fan culture, and there was did it start off as a festival? Because you guys have just been to the festival, right?
It started off as a magazine.
Right. Okay.
And then they finally there was some complications early on, and then they finally figured out what they were doing, and now it's the Horror Hound weekend, and they have it twice a year, sometimes 3. They also do the big Halloween festival in LA with, like, you know, the big stars, and they do all the Halloween movies out there, which I believe they're doing again this year for the anniversary. So I'm trying to get out there for that. But yeah, we're because I mean, to us geographically, the people who created Horror Hound are an hour and a half away.
Wow.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
no, it's a great. I don't know. I think someone said they gave Deathgasm a bad review. I never saw it. I would have been honored if Deathgasm was in the magazine at all. I know Rue Milk didn't like it.
No, fuck that. You know what? Here's a great review from the Austin Chronicle. Shamelessly lowbrow, reaching a beer-fueled gleeful high with a zombie versus sex toy battle. It's a very metal tribute to the grand tradition of Kiwi splatter comedies. So fuck yeah. I mean, there's people out there that get it.
Yeah, and it's the thing is, it's like it's only when they sort of I think the only thing that I really don't like is when a film reviewer puts their own sort of, like, spin on the content, or, like, yeah, and there's a general, like, misunderstanding from some critics of how films even work. But I don't know. I think the culture I think the culture is just, like, I don't know. I can't see it lasting if they're going to be so disingenuous, and, like, you know, they really have to, you know, be on side with the fans. It's like the voice of the people, you know. And if you're so, like, against the, you know, I make films for everyone, you know. It's with Guns Akimbo, there are a few people that, like, why didn't you have, like, an anti-gun message in there? And I'm like, well, you know, lots of my friends, you know, shoot guns, have gun licenses, are in the army, police, you know, are, you know, like, I you know, not really a position to, like, judge that, you know. It's going to be a movie. I want to make a movie for everyone, and not, like, you know, batter people about the head with a message. Just a dildo instead.
Dave, you got a question?
You know, it was crazy, but, like, I think especially the last 2 nights we're shooting all the stuff in the house, the Ricky Diggett's house, where the finale, like, all the demons get killed. It was so claustrophobic. There was, like, it was a tiny little house. It was owned by these Christian people, and, like, someone didn't it was going to be torn down, and they had a farmhouse, like, about a few hundred meters up the road. And for some reason, no one told them what we were up to. So, like, you know, and you know what, like hot set is? It's when you like leave the set as it was to start filming the next day. They left like gore body parts,
Oh no!
like hail Satan pentagrams everywhere.
Oh shit!
And then the morning before we left it, like they left it like that. And in the morning, like the owners came in and almost like, you know, kicked us out because they were so offended by all the gore.
You look like they did burn the place down. Gosh.
Call in a priest before they're done here.
Holy shit.
So that was the most stressful time. And actually that was the only time where I like that night of the last shoot, because it was just, we couldn't. And you can actually tell when you watch the film, the style changes a bit, because like the stuff in the uncle and aunt house, there's heaps of like those, you know, like whip pans and like those, you know, push in Dutch angles, you know, Peter Jackson, Sam Raimi style. You know, it feels, you know, like more what I was going for. And then like at the end, it's just like, put the camera here, shoot. You know, we were just trying to get coverage. You know, there was like 3 cameras and like 20 or 30 like people, and I was just like, you know, I'm not like I get social anxiety with crowds, and it's just like, so, you know, trying not to lose my shit. And right at the end, me and the DOP had an argument, and like it's the only sort of time I sort of like, you know, was a falling out really during the shoot. And then the next morning I came in and like, you know, gave him a hug. I'm like, what are we shooting today? Naked girls against the green screen dressed like warriors. And I'm like, kissing. And I'm like, and I just cracked a beer that morning, and that's all we shot on the last day. It was just so good. It was just like, yeah, chicks making out. And we put like really loud, like I can't remember what bands we listened to, like Megadeth and Sepultura on really loud in the green screen studio. And then that at night we just got like hammered. We all like dressed in like wigs and makeup, and like just you know that thing that we was smoking pot, that gas mask. We were using that to smoke pot, and oh my god, it was messy, man. I think I might have slept in my car, and some people like got me out and took me home. And
shit. It just became like a Metalocalypse episode.
Nice.
It was crazy, man. And yeah, but I was like, I don't know. I have, you know, I have really fond memories of working on it. I just didn't care what it came out like. I just wanted to. I'd always read about Tobe Hooper and Sam Raimi, and you know how they just put these films together, and it, you know, it was low budget and it was crazy, but you know, I just wanted like a war story. You know, I wanted war stories. I wanted to like, you know, tell people we did this, and it was like insane, and I got those war stories, and it's I you know, I think back really fondly to those times. I've got like less fond memories about Guns Akimbo. And I think maybe that sort of like, you know, reflected in the final outcome of the film. Because Deathgasm feels like, I think a lot of the fun of the film, it feels like people having fun, you know, which is cool.
The energy is definitely crazy. It's always a 10.
Yeah.
And you keep it going the whole time. It's great.
The soundtrack.
Oh, yeah. We got to talk about the music.
Yeah. That's if I was making a movie, this would have been the first thing I would have been. Before I even wrote a script, I would be like, I want to put this song in there.
Yeah, as you wrote it, did you know what kind of pieces you were doing? Like, did you like do like a Tarantino, Scorsese thing? Like, were you writing to like Megadeth or Exodus or whatever the fuck?
I love writing songs into scripts, and so I was. Producers hate that because they just see it as money. They're like, no, this will cost you like,
I get that.
No. You know, so I think originally I did have like some more mainstream, you know, some Metallica, Pantera, some Sabbath, you know, I mean, because, you know, why not? I was just thinking like, you know, oh man, if I get Metallica on the film, it's going to go wide, you know, it'll, you know, it's going to blow up. But like, you know, I think the soundtrack that we, you know, because we had no money, so it was just like I was approaching artists and just asking them to like donate a track. You know, I wasn't saying like, oh, do it for exposure, because I didn't know who was going to see it. I said just like, do it because you love horror and metal and you think it's going to be fun. And I love the soundtrack because it does sound authentic. It sounds like there's a really good mix of like doom metal and black metal and like, you know, death metal, you know, grindcore. Like there's just a real mix of genres in there, and it just feels like you know, it feels authentic to me. I mean, I was begging so many bands. There was like it was going to be like another song for the dildo fight scene. It was going to be an enslaved song, and I was was trying to ring Norway. I was ringing Norway and trying to like get hold of them. I'm not sure. I talked to their like manager or someone, and she just told me to fuck off.
Oh man.
Just not interested at all. And so like but yeah, I mean, I'm really happy with the soundtrack. I mean, the biggest thing for me is I got 2 Emperor songs on there, and like the Nightside Eclipse was like, I've still got the tape of Nightside Eclipse. You know, it's just like I just have such fond memories of like as a metalhead listening to Nightside Eclipse of my Sony Walkman, and so that was big for me. And yeah, I mean, it was just cool.
Your homage to like the Immortal music video in there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Call of the Winter Moon.
It's so good. It's so great.
Some other guys did a parody of the Black Satans or something.
Yeah.
It's so fucking great, man.
The soundtrack is one of my favorite parts because it's not every day where you can just like turn a movie on and hear Midnight, Evil Like a Knife, or like Nun Slaughters in there. Like that's like some legit shit that I was like Toto was like, man, I respect this so much.
Yeah.
And I got to the party with the Midnight guys, and I was wearing one of their like executioner masks.
Oh, that's sick.
Fuck, that's amazing.
Fucking great. I love that there's this, right now, any genre of music you like, there's it's big. That's why I love it. If you love doom metal, stoner metal, like thrash, there's a scene.
It's all there, but we haven't talked about the fucking dildo fight scene.
I'm not getting them out again, so
you don't have to. We will insert that from the last episode.
If you use a screenshot and like pixelate it, it'll get more views.
Oh my god, no!
I think they're falling apart.
Oh no, I hate when dicks fall apart. Oh, is it getting gooey?
Oh, that face is not a good one.
Oh, there it is. There she is. There she blows.
Yeah.
That is a Mandingo, and he's
Someone's been using this. Like I'm not happy about this.
Oh man, you need to put that in the freezer. Ah, stop it! He's shaking your shit at us.
Oh man.
Oh, no, this is the rabbit. So that was
Oh,
one through the years before.
Okay, seriously, how did you come up with this fucking scene? How drunk were you, or whatever the hell you were on to make you happy that night? Be like, I got a great idea.
I think it was actually one of the producers that was like encouraging me to put more dicks in the film, and I'm not entirely sure why.
That
but
works.
Like,
That's a really big black one.
it's a great note, yeah. It's funny because like originally, because we had no money, I sent someone off to go buy the dildos, and they came back with these like a tiny little thing of like, I don't know if they're trainee anal beads, but they're like, oh my god, like it was pathetic.
First timer.
I was, I'm not a very yelly director, but that was my moment. It's like, no, this cannot do. We need like real big, like we need like the biggest, like fucking, floppy double-ended. And I was like, I referenced that movie of Jennifer Connelly, like that movie there.
Oh yeah,
Requiem for a Dream, ass to ass. We need that one. And so. Yeah, ended up like, and it was funny because the biggest dildos we could find were actually from a gay sex shop. So I don't know, it's like,
that's awesome.
I thought just like, normal ones would have all the stuff, but like we for some reason I think just men are just like, just more wild. They've got an extra level of like, I don't know.
Like would Oliver Stone have these dildos on set?
Respect for any man that could fucking take that, because Jesus Christ, like it was like
I know a few.
I think in Germany they had even bigger. This is the weird thing about Germany, is a sick place, and I love it. It's where I landed in the Berlin airport for the first time I went to Germany, and I went to the men's toilets in an airport, right? Go into the stall, and there's like in the stall there's like someone put a porno picture of a woman in there. I'm like, oh, I've never really seen that in a airport toilet before. It's kind of odd. And then, like, they've got like dispensing machines in the toilet sometimes for condoms. In Germany, they had like, do you know what a travel pussy is?
We're getting ready to find out.
I mean,
it's a little thing that you like wank into, and it's like a little bag that you wank into, and then like it's called a travel pussy. You can buy those in a vending machine in a German airport. Like they're sick fucks. And I love
how long
them.
are the layovers at a German airport?
How long is the layover?
It's like, man, I gotta fuck something.
My DOP, like my German DOP for Guns Akimbo, like there's this place called the Kit Kat Club, which I think is quite famous in Berlin. and he went there and like he looked up the staircase and there was like a group of men like looking down on him like wanking. Like it was like, man, he said he should have bought an umbrella that day.
He's probably a hot guy.
Nice.
Oh, it's gone off the rails. Sorry, just cutting like more. But you know, it's weird because it's another one of those things where I thought, you know, hopefully the scene's funny and people seem to dig it. You know,
it's extremely memorable. It's one of those scenes like that. They're in movies. Like that's the great thing. Like whether you realize it or not, you yourself, but we do is like when we watch movies, those scenes that are not going to be forgotten, and that's one of them.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for giving us this fucking insane battle dildo scene because they don't have anything else to fight demons with and shit.
Yeah.
So part of the thing with like, you know, because thinking about the sequel, it's like, how do we outdo that? How do we go bigger? And so like, yeah, there's one scene that like every distributor I've talked to is like, you know, these are people that put out like Serbian film and stuff, you know, and it's like, well, we've got to talk about the scene because like, I don't know. But no, it's still funny. Like it's still the thing was with Deathgasm is you've got to choose a tone and stick with a tone and like you've got to know when it's going. With horror comedy, you don't want to depress people ever, so it has to be, you know, it can be dark, but it still has to be like funny. A lot of people have said like, you know, how he cuts off his that bully walks in, he's like, what the hell? When Brody cuts his head off, everyone be like, oh man, you made me hate the character. I'm like, dude, I mean,
no, it was great because Zach's sitting there like he wasn't a zombie. He's like, no, you heard him. He said something about killing. It's just the straight face. But and what was it the scene right before that where like Brody comes out and Zach has piled the bodies on top of each other and he's just like, they were there when I found them. And that's how. Yeah, just little comedy beats like that sort of make it, you know, a little less graphic.
That's true. Yeah, you got to simmer down a little bit before you go boom.
Yeah.
I do have one thing. I wanted to ask you what it was like to direct. Was it? I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I probably do, but Stephen
Oh yes, yeah.
So I mean, he's one of my favorite. He's one of my favorite character actors. I love him in Lord of the Rings. I love him in like Immortal Engines. He's like, you know, he's in Hercules, he's in Xena. I've got his action figure from, you know, from Lord of the Rings in the other room. So I mean, that guy is fucking awesome, and I mean, hopefully he was cool to work with.
He was phenomenal. He was also the old man in X, recently, which I didn't know. I didn't know until the credits. Like it was so because the makeup was so good. Like he was like, I just loved him. I loved that character, and he just I think he made a decision. Like he came up with like the sort of Cockney British, you know, Spinal Tap sort of accident. He sort of looked like he looked like Iggy Pop that had been out in the sun too long.
Oh yeah, I mean he's fucking Grisnak.
Meat's back on the menu, boys.
All right, that's one of those lines you don't forget. And, you know, and he's in your movie. It's like, fuck, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I'm a massive fanboy, and yeah. So but he was just so great. But he was like, he's sort of like really I think it's like he's got really delicate skin. Like for some reason his skin's like paper. And so like the first time that he swung the baseball bat, like his skin just started ripping off, and they're like, oh, and someone's like, dude, he can't do this stunt, like, because his skin's just coming off. We're taping it back on. I'm like, what? So that's why we did some of that scene in like sort of POV to camera. So I don't know if anyone notices like the perspective sort of changes at one point, but that was just so because he couldn't swing the baseball bats. We were like worried his hand was going to fall off. I don't know what was happening. But you know, really, really nice guy. And just like, it's one of those times when you're just like watching behind the monitor and you're like, fuck, this is gold. This is gold. And, you know, my only notes were like, why don't we try one even crazier? And like, because he was just doing so much wild shit.
Wow, that's fucking nuts.
Yeah.
We're going to end up like winding this down just a little bit. We're going to go through, and we want to know what do you have right now? What's going on? I mean, Monsters of Metal seems like it's going to be like, I mean, what I've seen is like awesome. It's kind of hard for me to get a hold of right now, but what is it? Can you explain it to our listeners and viewers? Monsters of Metal.
So it's like it started off as a comic, but now it's we're like already like in talks for the film, and
Oh shit!
But it's like basically like we've got the classic Monster Mash Monster Squad lineup of monsters, and they're basically what if what do you do if you're like just sitting around Dracula's castle all day? Well, what if they got into metal? Why not? And so like they basically like go on tour. Everyone thinks they're the next like Slipknot or Ghost or Kiss. That it's just like makeup. I think there's a comment in one of the panels like I heard Tom Savini did the makeup effects for this character. So but yeah, it's like just that combination of the classic Universal style monsters and metal just felt so. I think of it as the Monster Mash, the song. It's like a heavy metal Monster Mash, and it's just so much fun. Like the characters, like it's got a bit of a Spinal Tap twist to it as well. Like there's a documentary crew filming them, like Anvil, Spinal Tap, or Metallica, and it's a really good way because it's like just a one-off comic at the moment. It's like how do you get people to know the characters like in the first few pages? So we've got this like they're talking to an interviewer and. Yeah, I mean, I love it. They really like just gave me license to do whatever I wanted with it, and it's been fantastic. Lexi Leon at Incendium is just a phenomenal guy. He does like a lot of these. He did like Iron Maiden comics and video games and all the like Evanescence. Evanescence. But yeah, Disturbed. He's done all these amazing like metal comics, heavy metal comic. Based on the magazine and the film. Oh no, he did like a merchandise range for those. Bill and Ted. So like he's just like a metalhead horror hound, just like me, and he's just like let's do some shit together. So. But just incredible. He came up with the original concept for the Monsters of Metal as well. It was like based on like, he sort of set it up and like he had like concept art for the characters and he's just like, and go. So it's sort of like, where do I go with this? But yeah, I mean like the characters, there's like a bit of a sort of, they're a dysfunctional band. There's a bit of a Fleetwood Mac thing where like there's a breakup in the band and like they sort of like hate, the bride and Frank, who's like Frankenstein's monster, like kind of like, they broke up and yeah, there's a lot of friction there.
Oh, no.
Bride, I sort of based on like, like Courtney Love. She's just like this, she's fucking like, she's the girl that starts the barroom brawl, like throws the first glass. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I think anyone that loves, heavy metal and horror and the classic monsters is going to really dig where we've gone with it. And it's, I think we're going to release some panels soon to show, people what it's about. But yeah, it's been just so fun doing.
So when is that? Is that actually been released yet? What's the deadline on this?
Late October, so near Halloween.
Okay, that's why I
yeah, pre-orders are out now, and yeah, I think Lexi just told me it's selling like phenomenally well. I mean, and it's like I think that's given so much confidence behind like let's do a movie. It's like and for me having a chance to like, oh, what's my take on a vampire? What's my take on a werewolf? I used to obviously they've been done to death, but there's a lot of fun to be had, like working with those archetypes and putting my own spin on it. And obviously, it's gory as hell as well.
Yeah. It's not going to be like Tom Cruise in The Mummy. It's going to be good.
Oh no! Oh no! Now
Mummy Ghost Protocol.
What are they calling it? The Universal. The Universal Universe.
Expanded universe.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Wow. What a mess. What a fucking mess. What else do you have going on right now?
Yeah, so working on that, just like got a few other films which were like just in like the stages of casting for at the moment, which is yeah, I mean one of them's shooting in the States in what's the state of New Orleans?
City of New Orleans,
Louisiana.
Louisiana. Yeah.
Louisiana. So that's potentially shooting there. Hopefully as soon as possible. We're just like going out to cast at the moment, and but it's fun. It's like it's my take on like a classic like holiday like calendar slasher movie, you know, from the 80s, but my take on it, it's
nice.
That's gonna be awesome. That's awesome.
yeah, really fun for anyone that can guess what holiday it is, but it's I can promise it's going to be like the concept art's amazing, and and like the idea of like shooting something in the States is really appealing to me. I haven't left New Zealand since the COVID thing kicked off. I had plane tickets to Brazil to go to this festival, just as like the lockdowns happened.
Oh,
so I've got cabin fever down here. Just like I've just been writing a lot of short stories at the moment as well, which has been really cool. Just being able to like, just sometimes just, writing like 10 pages, just a story that's 10 pages long, some are longer, but just having fun with different mediums. Writing comics has been like a different, it's a skill which takes, you have to flex different creative muscles, which was challenging, but also a lot of fun. And I feel really blessed to be able to do what I'm doing and just, have fun, and hopefully people have fun, reading or watching or
Yeah, it sounds like you're living our dream.
Yeah, sounds great.
Absolutely. So
it is fun, and
we have to ask about Deathgasm 2, because I've seen where it was in production, then out of production, and possibility. Is there a script written? Am I just reading internet bullshit? Like, what is it?
Oh, there might be some news coming really soon, actually, around there. I can't really say any more, but it won't be any surprise to people that I'm really down for it. And, the only way it'll happen if it's the same actors again, because like you can't really sort of recast those roles, I think, now. And but the idea of them being like sort of older and a bit washed up is kind of appealing and kind of funny to me. So we'll see how it goes. Again, it's like it's one of those things that you want to go bigger and sort of outdo the last film, but at the same time, I think the reason why people dug Deathgasm wasn't because of the budget; it was because it had the heart, and people will forgive like something for being rough around the edges. Like you watch the original like Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Evil Dead, they're rough around the edges, but just you wouldn't change them. You wouldn't like try and go and like recut them or make changes. They're perfect how they are, and
that's all we could hope for. Please, as a fan and as a metalhead, don't polish it up, man.
No, I mean, like I was trying to convince like Peter Jackson's company to let me do like a Bad Taste sequel, because I'm like, dude, it's I wrote like Bad Taste fanfic when I was a kid. Like I had this I wrote the story, and it was like, it was Bad Taste, like the guys in Bad Taste versus Predator, because that was my other favorite film at the time. I loved Predator.
Oh my god!
And so I just thought there was a cool mashup of like Derek, like trying to like fight the Predator, and I don't know. I sort of wish Peter Jackson would go back to making like he can't do it now because he's like a billionaire. I mean, how can you can't make a splatter movie when you're a billionaire? You have to make it low budget. It has to be a little bit schlunky.
I think we all like that. Like God, what could we like just give him like $20,000 and be like, just make a scene, just make a scene,
see
man.
what you can do with it,
right? Yeah. Peter Jackson, please, brother, we love your stuff, but like, there's nothing like The Frightener still has that feeling. Like, but it has that whimsical sort of like, obviously it's Robert Zemeckis, and you've got Danny Elfman's music, but like it still has that feeling of Dead Alive, like with just where it's shot, you can just tell, you can feel it. It's great.
Do you know the place they shot like the hospital massacre that was done in this haunted nunnery? Like this place was like literally. I ended up filming there, and like I took a guy in to like put up some props. It was for a short film, and I came back. This is during the day. He's like sitting outside, and I'm like, he's like, I saw a ghost. I'm not going back. He just refused to go back in there by himself. But yeah, they tore it down. It was this abandoned nunnery, which turned into like an art school. But it's it's a real shame. We used to have like lots of asylums in this town where like you just go film like crazy horror films. We went location scouting to this asylum, and the caretaker was like, just telling us about it. It's like blowjob over there. I caught them. He caught these like these teenagers like someone giving someone a blowjob outside this asylum one night. He's like, over there, caught them. But yeah, just gentrification and the price of land is just like they've just torn all those places down. So it's a real shame.
That does suck.
Yeah.
Well, really, thank you so much for being on the show, guys. Do you have any more questions before we let him go?
All right, I gotta ask because it's.
Oh, here we go.
I've read this in a couple places. Is it true that if you play Deathgasm Muted to Iron Maiden's Live After Death, and it syncs up, that you edited it that way?
No, not at all.
Yeah, I didn't think so because when I was rewatching the movie the other day, I was like, this won't work.
Yeah. IMDb lied to me.
See, it's great because I was going to ask the same question because it says this was on the IMDb because it says that the filmmakers have yet to comment on this. So we are the first.
I wish I was. It was based on that legend about like Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon, and the Wizard of Oz, and it's like I think if you get stoned enough. Because I tried it with the Wizard of Oz as well. I think if you get stoned enough, like me and my friends used to get stoned with the TV on mute and listen to music and would like, oh my god, they're saying the music. Like at certain points, it looks like they did that, but it's I like that people think that we were in any way competent enough to edit a film and also edits to like this Iron Maiden. Was it Live After Death?
Yeah, Live After Death.
Live After Death, yeah. The other one is the Cannibal Corpse connection, then in which way several characters' demons die contain the references to the song Hammer Smashed Face. I was like,
yes.
So that's true.
That's totally true. I'm a massive Cannibal Corpse.
Fuck yeah!
Hell yeah.
Yes! That's awesome.
Yeah. It's like Hammer Smashed Face. Like I covered that with my band once. It was yeah, we sounded terrible. But it's yeah, I mean I come from like the the early 90s where a lot of people don't remember the early 90s like Florida death metal boom. Yeah. And it's like Obituary, Morbid Angel, Cannibal Corpse, Death. I think Death were from Florida as well, right? Maybe. That was for like this brief moment, death metal was like just the biggest metal genre. And I love those guys. And
oh yeah, we were part of that scene here. Yeah, absolutely. We're old enough and remember that time when it was happening.
It was crazy. It was I can't imagine anything. I just don't know. Like, yeah. I mean, I it's just so. That music was so extreme. Me and my friends would just read the lyrics and like laugh. And
oh, it's great. It's like fantasy, and it's when people take it too serious, they're ridiculous, man. I never understand that. I mean, I get it as a kid, you're angry, you're pissed off and depressed, but like when you get it, like you should understand this is a fucking joke. It's like a movie. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah.
They're painting a fucking picture. You think Chris Barnes actually wants to eat some fucking kid's ass like Albert Fish? No, motherfucker. Yeah. Calm down. Yeah. It's a fantasy of the angry kid. That's all it is. It's great.
And we're living in a time now where like being shocked is like, it's bad to be shocking these days because you're meant to like, like being shocking is a bad thing. But back then, like being shocking, like you wouldn't have someone like Marilyn Manson being like this big star these days, but like back then people were like, yeah.
Yeah. And it just depends on the person who's in that realm. Like we understand that it's a fantasy. People who know me personally know I absolutely hate real violence. I don't like it. Like when I get into fights, I hate that kind of shit. Like I love the artistry involved. I love people who make all of that stuff happen. Like I have friends who are like, hey man, check out this fucking somebody's knee has been cut off. I'm like, I don't want to see that shit. Yeah. I don't want to see it. I love the fantasy.
I'm a vegetarian for ages. I'm just like
nice.
My dad was a hunter and I had this thing about killing animals. I just I don't know. I love like make believe gore. I sort of I think my friends used to be on like, was it the Rotten.com or whatever, like when we were young.
I remember that, yeah. Oh god.
Yeah.
Yeah, gross.
When you grow up, you get like this, I think it's like a paternal thing maybe. You just start, you don't have the stomach for that stuff anymore and like yeah.
Yeah. Well, there was a time in my life when I nothing fazed me, and it actually made me sad. Like I could watch the most extreme like horror film, and it didn't faze me. So it took me a while to actually get back to where I like jump scares and like things affected me. Because I got angry at myself. I was like, well, you know, instead of being like the badass, like nothing fazes me, that actually made me upset that I didn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't entertaining anymore, and I hated that rough bullshit exterior that I had there for like a few years. I was like, no. I need to go back and like watch Cannibal Holocaust and hate this fucking movie, but understand what he's trying to say at the same time. I don't know. There's so many things you can do when it comes to the horror genre, and you being a part of it is such a big fucking deal for us. And we just want to know how much we appreciate your films.
Yeah.
Even though it might be called Heavy Metal Apocalypse here at Walmart.
Yeah.
So at the end of every podcast, Dave does a question, and we're going to ask you first.
Oh man, I
don't even know what it
I don't
is.
really have one this week.
Motherfucker, you better
All
make
right,
it up.
What's the worst way to get killed by a dildo? Go.
Jesus Christ.
I know.
He does this to me all the time.
Here, I'll go first. Punctured lung.
Yeah. I think like imagine being like slowly bludgeoned with it. You know that like that short film with the spoon. Or, like if you're just getting whacked with it all day and just the humiliation.
Oh my God, like the Chinese water torture or whatever. Yeah.
Well, that
I was tripping out at this party and this guy had this big dildo and he kept poking my face and it was just horrifying. Like it was just the worst.
Oh no.
I think I really slowly over a course of a few years just being like sort of humiliated and like just slightly tapped with it.
and that's why you're the writer, because that's horrifying.
That's horrifying. That's why you're the writer. Ace, what's yours?
Right through the eye.
Right through the eye, yeah, like Fulci style. Oh my God.
Fulci through the eye.
I was just gonna say, you know,
Cannibal Holocaust.
Actually, if the dildo came to life like a big thing of semen from like Chillerama and ate me.
Oh,
Okay.
It's like a giant dildo. It's just like rah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I could make this awkward for
Oh,
everybody.
you
Nice.
did, motherfucker.
There'll be a fetish somewhere, I bet.
Oh shit. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah.
And when you're in the States, maybe we'll send you. Let us know, and we'll send you an email. Maybe we can like pay for you to come up here and hang out, and maybe we'll do a showing of Deathgasm.
Yeah, fantastic. I'd love it. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, no, we love having you on here. Thank you so much for being on the show. And Dave's going to do his little routine. Anybody have anything to say?
I'm good, man.
good.
I'm
Don't
good.
look at me like that.
I'm good. I got nothing else. I'm
All
tired.
right,
It's been
Dave,
a long day.
Take us out of here.
Thank you for all of our listeners. You can find us on Anchor FM, Breaker, Google Podcast, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, Spotify, Apple Podcast, CastBox, Verbal.com, wherever you're listening to us right now, YouTube, Facebook, and
OnlyFans.
Only what?
Not yet.
No,
Not yet,
OnlyFans.
not
All
yet,
right,
not
that's
yet.
that. That's
And
it.
we are not banned in 37 countries. We gained Poland, Peru, Sweden, and Slovenia.
Slovenia.
Fuck yeah.
How about that?
Isn't that great?
All right, well, that's it. We're going to get out of here. I'll see everybody later.
All right, thanks, guys.
Bye.